So now everyone can hear everyone. Just so everyone knows.
Hello, everyone.
It's weird because I'm watching myself on like 2 different screens right now for the sake of what I'll be doing later. I'm ready to give my full review for this sunset slice that we got going on.
I'm ready.
Well, I haven't drank it yet. I'm just saying I'm getting it ready. I love that you can see my unpaid assistant's feet in the background. I think that's really demure. Very demure, very mindful, very cutesy. Okay. So it has like cinnamon and stuff in it. So I'm interested. Whoa.
Very fall?
Very fall. That's weird. That's really weird.
Cannot wait to try it. When I crack my new one open, I'll go in there with it and we can sip each other's.
It's like... at first you're like, oh, it's a cider, right? Like your first taste is like cider, and then it sits on your palate for a second, and then it's like apple cider. Like a hot apple cider drink that you'd get in like fall and stuff. That's the like after-tasty kind of like part.
Very nice. Sounds good.
Sounds yummy.
It's actually really refreshing.
Yeah.
I bet it'd be nice when it's like really cold. Yeah, good find. And we found it.
She found it.
Yes. Well, I was like looking at the different like hard cider options and saw the one of like in the rows of all of them, there's like nothing in this row, and I was like, oh, like this must be a popular drink. And then I saw, like, when I read the tag of what it was the seasonal. And I was like, oh my god, I don't think there's anything left. So I got on my tiptoes, and I was, like, trying to really look. And I saw there was one, like, way back at the end. And I was like, oh, fuck, because Cass and I were not tall enough to get it.
No.
Lovely pedestrian came over, and...
I don't know, he had a Total Wine and More shirt on. I think he was, like, getting off. I think he worked there.
Did he? I wasn't, like, staring at him.
I didn't stare at him, but
I was staring at him.
Anytime a man talks to us, I'm like, let me check you out at least a little bit in case I need to give, like, a police description, you
know? Fair. But he was very lovely, and, like, he reached all the way back and gave it to us, and then recommended another drink. But it was a seltzer drink, and I'm not the biggest seltzer person.
But he was like, yeah, I bought this for my girlfriend, and she really likes it.
Yeah, he was a nice guy.
So of course we had to try it.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Just releasing
the tension.
The tension of the day.
Getting your chakras in line like we did yesterday in yoga.
Yeah.
Cass also made, is like I said, making dinner, so that's why we're going to start this episode off slow.
So sorry. I'm moving quick, I'm almost done.
She is moving quick, but just slow, just so we can kind of chat the shit and catch up for a second. I guess this is actually a good time for me to pull up my numerous tabs open that I have for this episode, and start off with some introductions. For our only audio listeners, because I've gotten some requests to post the VODs onto YouTube so people can listen to them. So I will be working on that. I'm hoping to put out last week's episode up today, hopefully. We'll see. And yeah, so I'm Bree, or MacabreB, as on the internet and through gaming and on Twitch. I do also have a TikTok that is running. I do more content on that, just clips from the VODs and all that. I also have an Instagram I don't use as much, but I'm slowly getting into social media. I'm really not a big social media person. I just like playing games, and that's why we're here. But whoever's next wants to introduce themselves.
I figured I'd let Cheyenne go, but here we are.
Sorry. I don't know. Hello.
Just hi.
Hi.
That's
hi.
Cheyenne. And then, last but not least, our cook.
Yes, I'm Cassie. Obviously, best friend and roommate. I am in most of the videos, let's be honest. Unless I'm at work, I'm there.
Unless
happy to
I'm
be
at
here.
work, I'm there.
Hi, Billy. Welcome to chat.
Okay, that's done, that's done. Alexa, how much time is left on my timer?
You have 3 minutes left on a 35-minute timer.
I'm that almost perfectly.
This fiery pepperoni.
Huh?
I'm looking at pizza.
Not that I know of, Billy. Why? Anyway, but yes, so these are my bestie boos, the wiener trio, if you will, because we're wieners, but wieners, and we are chatting shit.
Heck yeah.
Ruin the joke. Get fucked, nerd. But I also wanted to say a big thank you to everyone because last week was really fun and we had some great moments, great feedback. The Devil of Dublin ended up liking my TikTok and I need it written like on my headstone because like hello, he hearted and sent a little heart comment. Like come on, shut the fuck up. That's so fun. So that was really exciting from that episode. And I just felt really like we got really a lot of people in chat that were talking and, you know, we're really grooving with the episode. So that was really exciting for me to see that kind of like positive feedback. So big thanks for everyone. And that, like I said, VOD will be posted on YouTube shortly. I'm going to be cutting out like our pause screen times because sometimes I'll go to this screen when we need to take a break or whatever, because these can be up to 2 hours long or whatever. So I wanted to cut those kind of like cringy pauses out. I have a lot to talk about today, so I don't know how long this is going to be, and poor Nikki is just going to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
I got the chance to interview some very lovely people from Biketok. And I guess while we're waiting on to like get into this whole thing, I'll kind of talk about what that experience was like without giving away too much information on like what occurred. But I also want to do a quick fit check because for this episode today, since we're talking about fear and adrenaline and Biketok, I wanted to like get like either like a Harley shirt or something, and so we went to Goodwill, could not find one. But I did find a cool shirt that, I mean, it's a car, so it has an engine in it, so it correlates. But it's really cute, and I do have pants on, so no one get weird. They're just shorts, and it's hot. Check it. It's cool. It's a Thunderbird Ford.
Alexa, stop.
I got it
Oh, that's beautiful.
for like $5. Isn't this shirt, like, it's kind of dope.
It was a
Adorable.
Kind.
Is it not like the coolest thing ever? It's sick. But it's definitely not a bike. So I'm sorry, Biketok, for disappointing you.
She tried.
I did try. Cass and
For
I
effort.
were looking. But I didn't get it. So unfortunately, I'll just have to deal with this really cool shirt. And it was in the men's section too. It's a large. And I got that and a Kill Bill shirt for like $9. Love thrifting. Love thrifting so much. I fuck with it. Chinky shink shink.
Thanks, Hank.
Also,
Sorry.
couple wieners in chat just for everyone for coming and saying hi and just being involved in this, and I'm really excited for today's episode. And getting into it a little bit, my interviews. So I did 3 interviews with 3 different content creators on TikTok for Biketok. So fun. It was so interesting because obviously gaming, I'm involved in kind of like one community, and you sometimes, I think, can build like limitations on yourself when you're doing content creation, stuff like that, where you don't like reach out to other communities and stuff like that. But I felt like, first of all, it was really scary. it was really scary to kind of put yourself out there and interview people, because it's like I said earlier this week when I was talking about it a bit, it's kind of like dating apps. And not in the way of like I'm trying to flirt with these men. Oh, yes, I got my assistant in the shot. It's the fact that like you're gonna get rejected and people are not gonna want to be involved in like the like interview process and stuff like that, and that's completely fine. Everyone has a right to say no, but it was like for someone to like be branching out for the first time and trying to understand a community and not even being able to ask a question can be disheartening at times. So for these three creators to not only agree but be so kind, so sweet, supportive, and just like honorable men was so kind. I mean, it was really refreshing, because I feel like you hear so much bad about the internet, you hear so much like beef with each other and stuff like that, that I felt like it was really refreshing and kind of like faith in humanity restored kind of thing, to be able to be involved in that. Hi Courtney, hi Jared. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Also, my AC is working upstairs, which is the only reason I can now wear a hoodie up here, or crew neck. But back to like the interview part of it. It was so scary because I have the worst social anxiety, and I don't think a lot of people realize that, because, and I think Cheyenne and Cass, you guys can both chirp in on this, but like online, I feel like I look a lot different than what I am actually like in person. Hold on. You're cut off.
Oh, sorry. Am I back in now?
Yeah, you're back in.
I'm walking with our I hate the way food on the internet.
Oh my God, this is so much.
Yeah, it's all good.
That one?
That's a ton of food. I'm not gonna be able to eat this all, but thank you.
It's okay.
How
Oh,
can I
that all looks
I was
delicious.
gonna have you. Thank you.
You?
Told you I made a
I made
full
a
dinner.
full dinner.
Alright. You wanted to switch drinks and try them? We're trying new drinks out.
Oh yeah, that's
This
nice.
one is unicorn fuel.
Yeah, unicorn.
Oh yeah, she's bitter.
That's
That-
that's
That's
like
like
Apple cider.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, now
Alright,
back
now
to my
back to
computer.
Sorry for that, but yeah, I think there's a big distinction of how I act on the internet, which in like through content creation, which is like kind of silly, goofy. I'm loud, obviously, and I joke around a lot. I kind of say a lot of weird things, maybe not the most appropriate things at times. And so having really bad social anxiety, I feel like online you can almost have some anonymous like persona, and so actually having to branch out and reach out and contact these people and not present myself as a freak was like really hard.
Well, and I remember during this process you being so nervous for them to even like look at your TikTok page or anything like that.
I really
So, like,
hope they didn't.
they're gonna see like my gaming side, who I am when I play games and with my friends, versus like, because you've got multiple sides to you, because you're very inquisitive. You like to know facts about a lot of random shit. Like I think back to when you researched and like deep dove into Pompeii and got so depressed about Pompeii.
I was so sad for them. They all died by a volcano called Vesuvius, and like it was in an instant, and the levels of heat were so intense that it made their brains into glass, basically. Isn't that crazy? Sorry, continue.
So I feel like
I'll never be over that.
you can see no, she won't. You can see the anxiety there, and it's hard to like, especially for you, put yourself out there in one way and then have them see the other way.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it.
Yeah, so I was very like, I was so nervous, but I was like, I have to do this. Because this is my whole like thing I want to do for this like talk show, live show, podcasting like thing, is to get like actual feedback, because I could come on here and be like everyone else and just chat the shit and like let it be it, But if I'm making a point about something, I feel like, one, I need to have research to back what I'm saying. If I'm going to have an opinion, I'm going to have a, like, educated opinion or whatever. Like, I need something to back it. I can't just have thoughts and feelings and emotions that we all have. I want actual information to validate what I'm saying. Especially because you're putting it on the internet. Like, anyone and everyone can see this, and I don't want people to be misinformed or something just from, like, one sentence that I'm saying.
I feel like it's nice that you have that view, but a lot of people on the internet don't. The broccoli might be a little overcooked, by the way. I forgot.
Still good.
Still good.
So I feel like it's really important for me to get different sides of a topic, especially, like, for today's episode, obviously we're talking about fear and adrenaline. I have interviews that I did with Biketok creators, and I just wanted to get different opinions about that community. And it turned into a little bit of about content creation as well, which we'll get in a little bit at the end, but I almost think I'm going to make a separate episode about content creation online, because I think that would be really interesting.
I think that would be interesting.
But, like, specifically, like, for me, I studied psychology and behavioral neuroscience. I'm very analytical. I love to ask questions and deep dive into stuff and get hyperfixated on things because of ADHD. Cass is a nurse, and she sees what happens when these people get into accidents and stuff like that, and come into the ER and ED to see those kinds of things. And then I just love Cheyenne, and I think she has great opinions. I'm gonna be here chatting too, because I need all my wieners to do this stuff and feel comfortable.
Which is fair.
Super fair.
Which is fair.
The chicken is good, but I think almost too honey, not enough hot.
I feel really comfortable eating, so I'm gonna take one more bite and more focus on this.
I know we were supposed to finish cooking before, but
so I had a ton of anxiety going into this, but like I said, the 3 guys I'm about to talk about, one of them, it was gonna be 4, but Red Cell Moto got really busy and we weren't able to, like, connect and discuss the stuff, so completely fine. Kudos to him for even allowing me the space to have that conversation. So it is just 3 content creators on TikTok specifically, but then a couple of them have different other platforms we'll talk about. And I just really value and respect these guys because they gave me, one, the opportunity to even talk to them when you didn't have to at all, and just the fact that when they were answering my questions, they were so thorough and kind about them. So I hope it comes across that I gave them a comfortable space to talk, and I hope that it was a fun time for them and not something that they felt they had to do, and something that they actually hopefully enjoyed. I don't know. Hopefully. I feel so uncomfortable, and I really hope they're not here. But kind of going into it now, now that everyone is here and present and we have food and good drink, we're going to have a good time.
Good drink.
Good drink. So we're going to kind of start this off by going into fear and adrenaline, specifically not Biketok-ish related, and then we're going to segue into Biketok eventually. So starting off, fear can be defined as a protective primal emotion that evokes a biochemical emotional response. Fear alerts us to the presence of danger or the threat of harm, whether that danger is physical or psychological. And this was per verywellmind.com, by the way, that I looked a couple of these, like, definitions and stuff up, so I wasn't just spouting random shit. For fear, some of the physical symptoms can include sweating, increased heart rate, high adrenaline levels that cause extreme alertness, which I thought was interesting. Also known as kind of like your fight or flight response in situations, which is literally a chemical response in your body which is kind of like an emotional and, like I said, physical response. The physical response comes from your like adrenaline or epinephrine, Cass?
Mhm.
Did I say that right?
Mhm.
Yes! Let's go. Which is a hormone secreted by the adrenal glands, especially in conditions of stress, increasing rates of blood circulation, breathing, carbohydrate metabolism, and preparing muscles for exertion, which is really interesting. And then kind of going into that also, there's adrenaline crashes, which I'll get more into when it comes to like Biketok talks. For a specific question I kind of asked them. But with adrenaline crashes, you, per WebMD, so like, I don't know about all this, you get some dizziness, lightheadedness, and vision change. As it's passing, you may start to feel like irritable or like unable to sit still. I know for some people that like they'll get really like out of body feeling, kind of like shock almost, which can be really dangerous at times. But my question for Cass and Cheyenne is, what is something that don't think phobia. At the moment, we can also go into phobias, but like specifically like either a time that scared you guys or something that you keep going back to that scares you. Like, for example, think like for me, like just being silly, like Halloween haunts at amusement parks and stuff like that. Like, you're going to these haunted mazes and stuff like that with the intention of being scared and that kind of rush and the heart beating and all that kind of stuff. So what would be an example of that for you guys? And go.
Jane, you want to go first?
So are we talking just like rush fear? Or like something that we're terrified of?
Let's go. First, we'll do things that like are almost like exciting fear, like something that like you would keep going back to, even though it's like causes those emotions, you know. And then we'll get into like actual fear with like phobias and stuff.
I guess I could agree with like haunted houses. I have to like really think on that. But like, yeah, haunted houses, I could say definitely are something that get me hyped up. I know I'm going in there to get the shit scared out of me, but at the end of the day, it's very exciting to think about.
I think also, like, for me, I'm huge on roller coasters. I love them.
Oh yeah.
But
Roller
they make my
coasters are a
stomach
good
drop.
one too, yeah.
And also, like, I ride horses, and as I get older, and as I've had worse falls, I get a little bit nervous getting on, which isn't great. It doesn't necessarily make my stomach drop, but, like, it's there.
It's that emotional response is there. Because I think, like, for me, too, I used to do a lot of dumb shit as a kid. Like, skateboarding, horseback riding, soccer, sports, putting myself in dangerous situations because, like, you're a kid and you're like, I'm going to live forever. And, you know, I've been on the back of, I've been on ATVs, I've been on motorcycles and stuff like that before. And I think it's, like, really... There's something, like, addictive about that kind of, like, emotion, I feel like. Which is what, like, you know, your, like, adrenaline seekers and, like, junkies and stuff like that kind of go back to. It's almost, like, intoxicating, you know? And, you know, there's certain parts, like, you know, like the haunted mazes where I just, like, love the theatrics of it. But I think there is, like, an emotional response to it that I like going back to seek that emotional response again. So even though like something like fear, I feel like has almost different subcategories, you know, like a phobia, but like with this specific fear and like going into like Biketok and stuff, it's like an emotional response that you receive when you're out there doing whatever it is that you're getting this response from, and you just keep wanting that feeling again. I feel like, at least.
I think there's also the other side where you keep going back to it out of necessity. So, like when
like an addiction
after
kind of
Avery
thing?
totaled my car, after Avery totaled my car, you know, I had like a bad concussion. I still to this day don't remember the accident. That's like how hard I hit my head.
On
And-
her fiance, by the way.
Oh yeah, it was his shoulder, and then it bounced off his shoulder into the door of the car.
Yeah.
So after he totaled my car, I obviously didn't drive for a little while because I didn't have a car anymore. And then when I finally did get a car, I was terrified to drive. I was afraid to be in a car, but I was like death gripping the steering wheel. My whole body was tense, and it was very subconscious. Like I was aware that I was a little jittery, a little nervous, but like my body had a more visceral reaction to me being in the car than I was aware of at the time. And like I still sometimes like death grip the wheel and I'm tense and I have to like take a minute and check in. So I think like obviously I can't not drive.
Right.
Life necessitates that I drive.
Welcome home.
Dinner's ready, it's downstairs.
Avery just got home, by the way, for our listeners. So, Cass, what was it like after being in an accident, getting back in a car, like for that first time? Were you like really nervous?
The first time I drove after the accident was actually when I was test driving the car that I ended up purchasing, which was already a really like anxiety invoking because the first time I got a car I wasn't old enough to test drive it, so my mom did all the test driving. So I was really anxious already just being behind a wheel of a car that I didn't own because God forbid something happens. I think it really hit me after I purchased the car though, because I had an hour drive down like one of the busiest, most accident-prone highways just to get it home.
Which, by the way, we live in Virginia for anyone that lives out of state, and like you can go like 70, 80 on these highways even though you're not supposed to and stuff like that, so that's why it can be really bad sometimes.
And I just remember like not being aware until I got home how tense I was the entire drive because I was literally sore. Like I relaxed my muscles after the hour drive and I was like, oh my god. Like I was sore for days after that.
Yeah, but it's a necessity, especially for you to drive and stuff, because fun fact, if anyone doesn't know Cass, this girl can't sit still.
Nope.
She needs constant stimulation or she gets scary. So she's very like, but also like she goes out and does a ton of stuff, and needs to be able to drive and all that stuff. But I think there is definitely like, especially when you're going through, say, like a car crash or something like that, you're gonna have like muscle memory in that moment. But the fun fact about a brain is that if something causes significant enough trauma and like an emotional response to your body and like mind, your brain is gonna like black out almost that trauma because it thinks that like it's a way of like your brain to process that emotion and response in a safe way, because in that moment your body doesn't think and your brain doesn't think that you're safe, so it kind of like blacks it out. And that's why a lot of people with like PTSD and stuff like that won't realize they have PTSD until several years after like the event that caused it, because their brain didn't think they were in a safe enough environment to be able to start to work through that trauma and stuff like that. Fun fact, learned that in college, and through other stuff. But going back to fear, we'll kind of slide into like phobias and stuff now. Cass has a fear of spiders. Let's just start with that.
I also am monumentally terrified of spiders.
Are you really?
Billy can speak on that, and Jared has also experienced me in a situation where I had a full-on panic attack and cried.
Oh, ants are worse for me than spiders actually too.
Oh.
Ants, I've had full-on blown like panic attacks over ants.
Yeah, ants are a big one for Cass. For me, it's not bug related, besides bees, which is really funny because bee is in most of my gamer tags and stuff like that, but it's because my name is Brie, like the cheese, and then I was like, oh, Brie, kind of similar, works. But I actually have a really horrible phobia, and I'll like hear something buzz, even if it's not a bee, and I'll be like, ah, and like run. I'll dip. You're lost. I'm sorry if you needed help in that moment. Can't.
I can confirm.
Can't help. Cannot help in that moment. Also, bridges are a big thing for me, which is really funny because it wasn't when I was little. But as I got older and more, I'm almost in my mid-20s. I'll be 25 this year, which is really disgusting.
That's your mid-20s, honey.
I know. But the older I get, the more caution I am with like my body and like my surroundings, and being
you
more.
definitely grow into your mortality.
Yeah, because when you're young and stuff like that, it's like I'm gonna live forever, and nothing ever bad can happen to me. And then several bad things happen to you, and you're like, oh shit, man, I fucked up. Like maybe I should take a chill pill and not do so much like dangerous shit. Like in college, I'm not condoning this, by the way, so don't ever do what I did, but it kind of goes into fear and adrenaline, mostly adrenaline. There was my favorite fraternity to go and party at was across the railroad tracks at my college, and a train could be coming, and I would still run across the double, because there was one set of tracks going this way and one set of tracks going that way. Because if it's not an Amtrak train, it takes forever. Like, if it's like a cargo train, you could be there for a long time. And so I was like, I can outrun these trains. Hindsight's 2020. I would probably still do it now, but I don't, like, especially when you're drunk and stuff like that, don't do that shit. Have some sense. I wish I did. The amount of twisted ankles I got trying to sprint across those railroad tracks because the rocks were, like, boulders.
Yeah, they were a hazard.
Absolutely, like, nutty. But it's, like, almost that, like, addiction of, like, I'm not gonna get hurt by this. It's just fun. It's, like, a moment of, like, we are young and we're gonna live forever kind of, like, vibe. The energy that you're bringing to that moment can be pretty, like, addicting. Which is interesting, because I think when people think of addiction and, like, addicting things, they think of, like, drugs or nicotine, caffeine, actual drugs like heroin and meth and stuff like that. But not, like, specific emotions or things that elicit chemical responses in our body that make us more addicted to that kind of stuff. And I think that, like, fear and adrenaline can definitely coincide and cause some addiction to that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, the horseback, I'll never stop, no matter how many injuries I get. The week after I took a hoof to the head on my really bad fall.
And more of her body parts have gotten hurt, by the way. She's come back looking like she did an MMA fight.
And to be fair, I don't fall often. I've just been riding for a long time. I fall less than once a year.
Atlas.
But after my one really bad fall where my mom was there and she drove me to the hospital after it, like literally the next week I was back on horseback. I was in a cast in one arm and I was like, nope, see ya, Mom, I'm going. I can drive now. I'm going. And
she's also stubborn.
And I did the lesson.
Okay. I'm gonna get Atlas really quick so that I can stop the audio from ping ponging off.
But I think similar to like the Biketok and like riding a motorcycle, I can kind of relate the experience to horseback because it is very freeing being up there.
Atlas.
Definitely different speeds, definitely. But
I can't speak to any of that because I don't have anything that I do that I would say is dangerous, or I'm just kind of a loser.
Cheyenne, don't you dare say that. You are not a
mean,
loser.
I would never in my life ride a motorcycle. I've ridden on a motorcycle once. My dad's best friend drove me around. But, like, I'm too much of a wimp to ride a motorcycle because I'm just like, that's so dangerous.
I think that just means you have a level head. Logical thinking.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up earlier. Is like, you guys were like, oh yeah, you know, when I was young, like I wanted to do stuff. I was the exact opposite. I was terrified of doing everything.
We were wild children. We lived in the woods.
I've more than, like, I think it's kind of been like the opposite experience for me. I used to be like afraid of everything, and now I'm kind of like, yeah, well, if I die, I die, you know?
That's really interesting too.
Yeah, like I don't really have fears like that. Like, I'm terrified of spiders, I can say that. I hate snakes, but when it comes to like scary stuff, like thinking about like, oh, that could kill me, I could be like, I mean, you know, if it happens, it happens.
Right.
Well, another adrenaline addiction that I feel like both of you guys have and are trying to share with me at least is your love of horror films.
Mhm.
Yes.
I would say, I guess that, yeah, that does that count? Because, like, the thrill of being terrified is something that I am thoroughly addicted to. Like, I have to watch a horror movie all the time. Like, I'll itch for it. I'll sit there and I'll be like, yep, I need to be scared for a little bit.
I think that absolutely counts.
Yeah, I think it counts because it's something like you're going back to that feeling. Like you want to still experience that first like thrill of like what that brought for you. And I think in like the horror movie genre, because I love the genre, obviously. There's different levels. There's thrillers. There's psychological thrillers. There's like jump scares. There's like so much different subcategories in horror that can be like not only just like fun, entertaining, like Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which is an amazing movie. If no one has seen it, they need to go watch it now. To things that are like psychological thriller, like Silence of the Lambs, I guess you could say is one. Actual scary, like I think Smile for me was really scary.
Oh,
I thought that
was a
shit
very scary movie.
was actually like so fucking terrifying. First of all, smiling at people, oh, like ew.
It had a lot of different aspects of horror too. Like I feel like a lot of it was psychological because you're like, is what they're experiencing real right now?
Right.
And then there was like the jump scares.
Right.
Like, yeah.
That one was really good. And I think that Smile was also like the first kind of movie in a long time that actually made me scared. I will say like a classic that will always scare me for horror movies is found tape like movies. Paranormal Activity. Yes.
Poughkeepsie
We don't
tape.
do those.
I haven't seen Poughkeepsie tapes, but I really want to. It's on my list.
That's like one of me and Billy's big enjoyment together is watching like found footage movies.
They actually scare me. I will say, like, the Blair Witch Project didn't really scare me as much, and the main actress, I was like, stop screaming all the time.
Yeah.
But Paranormal Activity actually does, like, actually scare me, because I'm like, oh my god, like, that could... There is a realm of possibility where that could happen in my brain. You know, that whatever's happening.
When I first watched Paranormal Activity, I thought it was real.
Mm-hmm.
I straight up thought it was real, and then they ruined it by doing the alternate ending, and I was like, oh, this shit's fake. This didn't really happen.
You're like, damn, they actually just caught demons on camera.
Right. I thought
We're
it was
found.
real.
Like,
And
this
then
is
they were
real.
like, haha, alternate ending. And I was like, wow, you just ruined my life.
But yeah, I would definitely say that, and maybe it's not always like a fear thing that goes into it. It's like a thrill, like you're seeking that thrill and that first feeling. Even when it comes to drugs and stuff like that, I've worked with people. Fun fact: I work in healthcare as well, but I work in psych. When it comes to addiction, the first thing people always kind of talk about is like when you're doing something like drugs for the first time, you chase that original high every single time. And I think that comes to many different aspects of life. It doesn't have to do with like snorting cocaine over there, you know what I mean? Like it can definitely be just like I went on a roller coaster for my first time, and that first drop that made my stomach drop and like made me actually like scared. And I just need to go back to that initial feeling, and then you're chasing that feeling each time. So I think that can almost be, it's like in the fear category, but it's like a thrill-seeking thing rather than me being scared of a spider kind of thing. My mom just texted me and said that Dad and I started The Last of Us and we're devastated at the daughter's death. Well,
Wait, they haven't seen the first season?
They have not seen the first season, and they don't even know the video game. So, but I kept recommending it to them, so I'm glad they're actually watching it, because it's a great series. Phenomenal series. Cannot wait for season 2. But I definitely feel like, I don't know if it's a thrill, or if it's adrenaline, or if it's like a combination of stuff, because I'm not a scientist, I'm not smart as it is, that like, all of these accumulations of emotional and physical responses kind of bring us back to these certain things, which gets me into Biketok. Segue. Where I've kind of always been a little bit on Biketok on my like For You page.
Yeah.
I guess I'm never able to leave now because so I have my like gaming and content creation TikTok, and then I have my personal use one. And my personal use one and my gaming one, Biketok. And it's all aspects of Biketok, okay? It's not just these beautiful people, because obviously it's not just Ben on there. It's these just beautiful people, and they have this, you know, helmet on and stuff like that, so obviously there's like this elusive kind of mystery to it, but it's also just like the bikes are cool, what they're doing is cool, and there's all kinds of like different content creation you can make through that community. Some of it's scary, I'm not gonna lie. I was scared in some things. That being said, I got scared watching Magic Mike because the idea of a man thrusting out of stage towards me made me want to vom just a little bit. But I worked through that. Like I said, the second Magic Mike movie was better than the first. And just like I worked through that, I was like, there has to be... It can't just all be like thirst traps, right? And I think thirst traps are fine if they're done in a artful, creative way. But I just think that some of these, and hopefully I'm not disrespecting Biketok too much, some of them were scary. And some of them, maybe you need to revisit some of your life choices. Because if I created some of the stuff that these people are creating, and my boss saw that,
oh my god,
the way I'd be so embarrassed. But also I can't take myself seriously. So to be there, and you have to think, like, you're editing these videos. Like, you're sitting there and you're rewatching the clips, and you're sitting there thinking, yeah, that's a good one. Bro, you're finger blasting your gas tank. Calm down. Please. I'm scared.
what audience do you think you're catering to right now?
But what sucks, and I guess what's good for them is that, I mean, it gets views and stuff like that, and if that's your content creation, like, pop off. There's a community in, like, the food content creation where there's these guys that do, like, sexy cooking. I don't know if y'all have seen that on your For You pages.
Oh yeah.
Have you, Sean?
Yeah. It's because I'm on this one creator's TikTok, and so I'm on all of them now. But yeah, no.
You watch one video because you're like, what the fuck is this? And then bro is licking a mango weirdly, and you're like, oh, wait, no, I don't want to be a part of this.
Yeah. I will say there's one creator that I sent to you his page because he did a video where he was shopping in Costco and making all these really funny comments.
Oh,
and,
no,
like,
he's like a gym bro stuff.
He does gym bro stuff too, but then some of his cooking videos get
Do they
fun.
really?
Yeah.
He did post 28, and I gotta respect the post 28.
That's why I sent it to you. He post 28'd, and I went, sent that.
I've only seen his gym stuff.
That was us in Target 2 days ago.
Cass and I did hit the post 28 because it goes so hard, and if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, then you just never know. You don't need to know. You just need to find out.
We should get your skeleton to post 28 in the background.
You know how hard that would be? I put her in this chair sometimes, and she cuts up my hands. So, segueing back to my original topic, now that we're away from that, be warned, I guess, if you're going to deep dive into Biketok like I did. There are some really great people, like the creators I met, and I hope that this doesn't come across as, like, me saying their content is cringy or anything like that, because the people that I talked to and, like, got interviews with were some of the most down-to-earth guys, and so kind, and so willing to be very thorough in their answers and stuff. So, go check them out. But know that, like, if you're gonna start scrolling through Biketok, you're gonna get some weird stuff. And I think that is fair to say, but, you know, maybe people will disagree and not have good feedback for me to talk about that with. Hi, Rooter. Welcome into chat.
Hello.
But getting into the 3 creators that I talked to, it would be Me? An OG? Sister, you're talking to the wrong person. But some wieners in chat for our new friend. It's chillin'.
Already done. Already done.
Thank you, Cass.
Mm-hmm.
Original gangster.
Oh, well, now I'm concerned.
Sister? No. We're all sisters here. But getting into the 3 creators that I talked to, it was dat_800_, also known as Bliss, Green Phantom, also known as just Phantom, and then Outer Space Raver. He gave me his, like, actual name, but I'm not going to share that on the internet, because I didn't see where he, like, had that, so I don't want to share all the information that these guys gave me, because some of it I want to keep, like, privacy is such an important thing when it comes to content creation. So before I get into, like, the interviews and stuff like that, be respectful for people on the internet. Seriously, I'm not joking. Stop sending these people, like, weird messages and, like, being disgusting in DMs and whatnot. As a female in the gaming industry, I've had so many weird comments made towards me. I've had weird DMs. Cass has had weird comments towards her. She doesn't obviously have content creation. Chan, I don't know if you've had the same kind of weird comments in gaming and stuff before, because you're a bit more quiet than Cass and I.
In the past.
Yeah.
I mean, not like when I'm with you guys, no. I mean, there was that one time that those guys, like, yelled at me while I was away.
Oh, yeah, and then Cass and I were hollering.
Yelling right back.
But I think that it's really important to be respectful of people's time and energy, and the internet isn't an anonymous place to be. Like, you will get found out, you will get in trouble. Like, stop stalking these people, stop being fucking weird, and stop sexually harassing anyone. It's not gonna do what you think it is gonna do. No one is gonna be attracted to you by you sending me a dick pic. Isn't gonna make me be like, oh, damn, you know what? I was kind of missing this. Maybe I should, you know what? I will talk back to you. This is a great conversation starter.
Yeah.
No.
And someone putting themselves on the internet does not mean that they are willingly opening themselves up to be objectified.
Correct. Great statement, Cass. That was actually really beautifully worded. So don't do that. But going into the 3 different creators, specifically starting with Bliss, who was kind of my first intro into interviewing, so I hope everything went well with that, and that he was comfortable with what I was doing. Give me like 2 seconds.
Oh, I know. This is why you need... I'm not gonna say it.
Okay. I know, I do need a mod. I know.
You can mod me. I was looking at it thinking that needs to be done.
I need a mod. But going into a little bit about, I'll introduce each creator and then we'll go into like the interview questions that I asked them. But going specifically into Bliss, I asked him for like an introduction basically so that I could introduce him to you guys. But he said that he loves anything and everything that has to do with motors, cars, trucks, motorcycles, all of it. He's also a big gamer, loves playing League of Legends as well as COD. Boo to League of Legends.
You know, I'm a League of Legends girl.
I know you are a League of Legends girl. And I've never played COD because the people on COD scare me.
No. Yeah, I won't play COD.
But all 3 of these creators I deep dived into. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, let me, nope, wrong thing, pull up, while I'm talking about each creator, their TikTok so that you guys can see who I'm talking about. So I said I was talking about Bliss. He is... Window. Capture, please. There we go. Okay, so that's him. So our first cutie patootie is Bliss, and like I said, he knows a lot about trucks, cars, motorcycles, stuff like that. Big gamer. I kind of liked his content because I think it gave like a very well-rounded aspect of like, you know, some like trendy kind of stuff and some educational stuff and some. He did have some book talky stuff on there, but he did share with me that he's gearing more towards like education and stuff like that now when it comes to the motorcycle community. He does have a YouTube channel where he's getting up and running again and wants to do like vlog styles, like on the bike, learn how to ride. He loves to teach that kind of stuff and wants to be available to people to answer like new questions for new riders. He said, my DMs are always open to questions or concerns related to motorcycles. He did come out with a video today if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff. On YouTube he did come out with that. And he wants to do like kind of like 2 videos a week. So that is our first cutie patootie. Second one is so loud. Here is our friend Phantom. He's super cool. He said he originally came up with his name because he used to watch Danny Phantom as a kid, and his bike colors are black and green. And also his helmet's like really fucking dope. But he said, in life you have to take risks and not worry as much about what ifs. That has carried me through and led me through a lot of great life experiences that most people around my age never get. For him, he just, you know, smaller creator, kind of like I am. There's no kinda. But he said he's going to start going live soon and might have a fun fact series on TikTok, but he's still debating on like which way to take his content. So big shout out to him and thank you for your time and energy going into this and for letting me talk to you. And our last cutie patootie, if I can spell, is Outer Space Raver. And like I said, some of these guys, actually all of them, kind of shared like some personal information, and I'm not going to share any of that because I think everyone is, I'm sure they would be fine with it, but I think that there needs to be a line with content creation and that people don't need to know everything. So,
yeah.
He was super dope. I honestly feel like out of everyone, all the guys obviously were super kind and respectful, but I really appreciated like my talks specifically with him. But he said he's been riding motorcycles for roughly 6 years. I've seen multiple aspects of the biker community across the country and adore every part of it. And as for upcoming content, there are no major projects I'm working on as my page primarily does funny skits or jokes as a biker in the fun aspects of our community. So I kind of like the 3 different guys I got to talk to. I felt like we're in different parts of Biketok.
A nice variety.
A nice variety. I feel like Bliss definitely has like education and stuff like that. Phantom's still figuring out where his content's gonna go, but has really, I really like his helmet. I just like his style of production and stuff like that. And then, Outer Space Raver, I just really, kind of like the fun, trendy part of Biketok, the fun parts of it. Like, it's not all these, like, kind of freaks, to say that, like, as lovingly as possible. So getting that off my screen. Let us go into some of the questions that I discussed with them, and then we can talk about them. This is going to get a little bit all over the place, so please bear with me. Cass, if you can keep an eye on chat, because I have many screens taken up by tabs right now. And Cheyenne, if you could do that as well, I'd really appreciate it. I'm not going to... I guess I will say, like, obviously my questions, because you need to know what I'm talking about. I'm cringing along with you guys, so please know that I have never been more embarrassed in my entire life. But like I said, we started with the introductions, which is what I just gave you guys for each creator. I have to pull up their answers as well. That would be fucking helpful. And for each question I ask, I'm going to go through each creator's response to it for each question. I'm not just going to, okay, this is Bliss's, all his responses, and then this is all the responses. So it's going to be all combined, so it's going to take us a hot second. So, my second question, besides like the introduction part of it, was kind of how did you get into content creation as a biker? Like when was the first time you were on your bike, stuff like that. For Bliss specifically, he said he's been on motorcycles since the day he was born. His stepdad raised him and raced dirt bikes. He has a strong connection through that. He didn't start riding street bikes until he was 18, and then took a break while in college since the bike had some issues. But he said he remembers the first feeling as a sense of freedom on a street bike, and that he could go anywhere, and it felt like almost like invincible. Mm-hmm. Which I think like kind of goes back to what we were talking about with like thrill-seeking behavior.
Yeah, that's a huge adrenaline thrill-seeking response.
Mm-hmm. And kind of wanting to go back to that.
Yeah.
Going through to Phantom, he said when he was younger, he used to be on like an old dirt bike, and then he got a motorcycle this summer when he took an MSF course, which is a course you can take. I think there's two, if I remember how I looked this up, there's like two ways. You go through like, to get your motorcycle license, you go through the DMV, and you take like a written and then a practical almost, like when you're like actually like driving. So there's like two parts to it. But if you do the MSF course, I believe you only have to do the written portion at the DMV if you do this course, and you get like a certain like extra, like I don't know if it's a certification or what. But he said he picked it up quickly and became comfortable on a bike within the first kind of day of riding. His experience was very smooth, which I'm assuming because like he rode dirt bikes and stuff before. But getting on the
good intro.
Yeah, like kind of an intro to like how to operate a machine like that. The only thing I've ever driven that would have like a clutch and stuff on that would be manual cars, because I could drive automatic and manual.
Yeah, you're old. You're old.
What?
Saturn. You're old Saturn.
Oh, I thought you just called me old.
No, you're old Saturn, referring to your first car.
I was like, wow, that's intense for you just to say that to me.
Wow, that was immediate.
It was immediate. But he said that getting on the highway for the first time was pretty daunting, especially traveling on a light-weighted bike. But I think, like, even though it was scary, I'm assuming he still probably felt that first thing that, like, Bliss was talking about with, like, that thrill.
Yeah,
of,
the
like,
adrenaline.
the adrenaline on it. And then, let's see. Then we kind of went into content creation and specifically why the biker community, because I feel like you can have a hobby. Like, motorist hobbies, there's so many different categories and stuff like that. But, like, specifically, why being a biker? You know? Like, why did you want to put that kind of content on the internet? Oh my god, I forgot to talk about our other friend's answer. To the first question. This is why I need to have so many tabs open.
This is why, I agree.
But back to the first experience with the bike, quickly, for Outer Space Raver. He said his first time riding a motorcycle on city roads was back in the fall of 2018. He found a cheap but reliable bike online, and he had a friend come to help him out, which is important to do for anything you find online. Bring a friend with you. I don't care if you're a man, woman, whoever. Bring a friend. He wanted to practice riding with a clutch since his only other clutch experience was on a car. Same. He rode back home, which was roughly 15 miles, which, in my opinion, seems kind of like a lot. It was nerve-wracking, but exhilarating. He said he definitely missed a few gears and found false neutrals a few times, and he made it home regardless. But that, looking back, it was a scary experience, but that he was insanely hooked.
Interesting.
Which kind of proves my point of before of, like, this addicting feeling and going back and seeking that. And then going into, like, content creation online, and specifically why being into Biketok. But Bliss has done content creation for only a year, which in my opinion is kind of crazy, because the amount of response he gets from his videos and stuff like that, I'm like, damn. But I think it goes to show that he's very, like, he seems very charismatic and stuff like that, and people seem to really dig his content.
Mm-hmm.
They respond well.
Yeah, because I think you can post a lot of stuff on the internet, but you have to have a certain... Something has to, like, bring people towards you. And these 3 guys specifically, I feel like they really bring a lot of charisma and energy and good vibes that people are like, you know what? Shit, I want to watch this. Even if you're not into Biketok, you're like, this is just, like, I want to witness this.
Mm-hmm.
But Bliss was saying that he kind of fell in love with Supercross and MotoGP and wanted to learn everything he could about motorcycles. He has a lot of knowledge, which I think shows through his YouTube and TikTok, and he wanted to share that with people in his friend group, encouraged him to do so, which I'm glad because that's how I found him. He's found a real passion for it, and he hopes to keep growing his community and eventually do it like full time, which I think is really awesome. And then we'll go to Phantom. He said, I always wanted to get into content creation, whether it's YouTube, Vine, TikTok, throwback to Vine, we miss you, or whatever else existed. He never knew what his social media persona or content would be until he got his first bike and realized it'd be cool to create fun content while still being able to remain relatively anonymous online, which is definitely interesting. For me, when I first started streaming, I didn't have a webcam and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But putting your, like, physical body and face and stuff like that on the internet, you're obviously going to get interesting feedback. And I think these Biketok people have a grace with that because you only see what their physical body is. And even then, like, when you wear clothes and stuff like that, you're not going to see your entire build. But with the mask, even going into mask talk, you're having something on your head, and it gives that kind of anonymous. It's a lore. I almost feel like it's a mystery that people like want to uncover. I mean, Cheyenne and I talk about mask talk all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Her and I are like, you see that Scream face? You see that Michael Myers? Like, I'm gonna be sending you people on TikTok. So that was kind of interesting that they all, for content creation, is just really, we're just excited to be into this. But I will say, our friend, the where am I at? Outer Space Raver specifically had a different aspect into getting into content creation. He said that his father was a professional photographer for all of his life. And so seeing his passion and the way that he shared his perspectives on what he enjoyed, which allowed him to connect with others, was really fascinating. He watched a solo photographer make it into a successful business and made it into his entire career. It really caught his attention when he was sitting around looking at normal, boring scenery, but turned it into like these amazing pieces of work with his dad's photography. And he saw the people respond to it by being captured by it, touching personal stories. It was a way of connecting with people I never knew existed, which I think it was really sweet. And also, kind of fun fact is my dad also did photography growing up. And, you know, getting into content creation doesn't have to be like, I want fame, money, etc. Like, for these guys, they're like, it was a way for me to have like this creative outlet almost. Whether you have knowledge and education that you want to do, like Bliss, Phantom, who's getting into content and seeing which way he wants to go, and our friend Outer Space Raver, who had that like kind of deeper personal connection with his father and wanting to kind of build a community like that in a way that he knows how to. I don't know for you guys, like, specifically, if you've ever were like, maybe I want to do content creation. Or was that never, like, a thing that you guys wanted to do? You were always like, that's... The internet is not where... Besides playing games and friends and what, like, there's nothing else I want to do with it.
I don't mind being involved in your content creation. I think being the center of attention alone is what makes me anxious about it. I've never, like, even as a kid, been someone who's like, I'm gonna be famous one day. I want to be a famous singer. Like, even fucking I went to that. God, do you remember the fucking recruiters for Disney who used to wander
Oh,
around
yeah.
their mall?
Yeah.
My mom was like, "Why don't we just go to one of those meetings?" And they tried to fucking recruit me to be on like a singer and an actor in Disney, and I was like, "Nope, fuck that, not interested."
Right.
Um, so no, it's never really been something that I'm interested in. Again, I don't mind being like involved in it. I'm not like, oh my god, off the grid, don't find me, I don't exist.
Girl shares her location with everyone, okay? Like, she's not
do.
off the grid. I'm one step away from being, like, a tinfoil hat, like, don't talk to me kind of person, than Cass will ever be. But, Cheyenne, did you ever have any kind of moments like that, or were you also kind of like, no, I don't want to be involved in that kind of...
No, I was actually obsessed with being a YouTuber.
Really? I never knew that.
Yeah, when I was in like middle school and early high school, I was obsessed with YouTube and I wanted to be a YouTuber really badly. I did put a couple of videos on YouTube that will never see the light of day.
Oh, I'd love to see those.
I also was like super interested in acting and
Oh, really?
modeling. Yes, when I was younger.
Wow. I did not expect that from you.
I looked into a lot of like I remember specifically like begging my mom to take me to they had like a audition at a hotel in like Williamsburg, I think, when I was younger. And I just remember begging her to let me go to it. She didn't let me go, but yeah, I was big into that stuff when I was younger. I don't think I could do it now. Like, I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, TikTok. I could do TikTok, but then I'm like, I couldn't do TikTok because I have absolutely nothing to talk about, and I don't know how to keep people entertained.
Right, that's fair.
That's a big thing. It's like you have to constantly like come up with creative things to keep people coming back, and I just don't think I can do.
Yeah. Why do you think I have panic attacks? No, but I think it's definitely content creation can be, and I think I'm gonna do a separate episode on that another day, but it's definitely putting yourself out there, and what makes me different from the next like Joe Schmo bros doing the brat dance and stuff like that. Like, what makes me different than that, you know? And I think it's hard to find a community where you feel safe enough to do that, which I'm glad for, like, the gaming community. I've met, amazing friends and fellow content creators through gaming, and it seems like that's similar in other communities like Biketok where, you know, I don't know if these guys are friends or anything or know about each other, but I think it's a way for you to find a community that you can just enjoy and be in and just have that like hobby. I think, like I said, last episode, I think everyone needs hobbies or else it's like a huge scary red flag possibly. Keeping going with the questions, I kind of asked what the communities were like for a motorcycle community, because I feel like specifically for gaming we can see so many different there's positives and negatives, right? I could be playing Valorant and I can use my comms and then I get called fat and a bitch and that I need to get back in the kitchen, which y'all don't want to see me in the kitchen, okay? Because I'd be cooking it up in there. Why don't you get back and go mow the lawn or something? Be a man if we're gonna get toxic. But there's so many different like facets where you can have that negative energy, and I wanted to see if that was reciprocated in other communities. But Bliss said the motorcycle community can be very hit and miss, which I think is similar to like gaming community. There's quite a bit of a toxicity from each of the cliques that reside in the community. You have your straight line speedsters, your track junkies, and stunt riders, and regular Johns that commute. It can be hard to find a group of friends, but once you do, you've made a friend for life. With social media, it's divided the biker community into clout chasers and who has the most money. Finding quality content that doesn't revolve around money, but instead focus on education and passion is important. And I definitely think that's true. Like, finding quality content that isn't cringe can be difficult when there's such a high demand. When cringe can almost be its own, like, its own thing. Like, it makes people, like, almost like, oh, that's so cringy, but I'm gonna like it anyway because it's kind of funny. And, like, finding something that actually has, like, quality content can be, like, hit and miss, which is why I'm grateful for these guys, because I think their content's actually pretty good. But finding that is really important, and I think difficult. But it's interesting to hear that, like, that community can also be toxic.
Because I feel like, at least when you see it on the outside, it doesn't seem toxic. It seems very inclusive. And, like, that's coming from, like, an outside perspective. I don't ride bikes. I don't know anything about bikes. But from the videos that I see, because I am kind of on Biketok, where it overlaps with BookTok at least, it definitely seems very inviting. Whereas, like, where being in Gamer Talk, we know that it's not always the most inviting.
Right, like, we have that expectation already set from us, but, like, when we're going through these different communities online and seeing these different content creators, you only see what they're presenting to you. So hearing someone actually say, like, there are bad sides, there are cliques, there are XYZ, it's almost nice to hear that in a weird way, because it's like, oh, we're not dissimilar, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But our friend Phantom actually, since being, like, a new writer and stuff like that, said he's not into, like, the culture and community as much, that he's still getting into it. Writing hasn't, like, changed his life per se. It's a way for transportation and stuff like that. I almost feel like the more his content grows, like, he's gonna maybe possibly get more into the community, but I could be wrong. And then for our raver friend, he said, motor culture has so many subcultures and branches within it. Before motorcycles, I was big into building and modifying cars, which is really fucking cool. Car meets street takeovers, and the culture you could find in any garage or mechanic shop have a sense of family and friendship wherever I find the smell of gasoline and engine grease. My branch, which would be the biking community, is full of fantastic people, and even if we don't personally know one another by name, we treat and greet each other as family. We not only protect each other, but care and check in, even if we ride together a single time. Additionally, working on bikes, since they are smaller engine and in most cases much more simple, makes it very easy for not only newbies, but very experienced riders to connect, grow, and work together for self-improvement and maintenance on their engines and riding abilities. That was so loud, but I can't also hydrate. I think that was also, like, such a fair response, because we have, like, Bliss saying that, like, there's pro and con, and then we have a more optimistic, I guess, look you could have on it, where it's, like, family and car meets and stuff like that, and how one culture kind of led him into the other one. Because I think even in gaming, like, you have so many different things. Color, thank you for the lurk, really appreciate you and your time here. So sorry. But I was just saying, it's so interesting what brings you into the community. What was your first thing, and, like, what entranced you to, like, oh, these people are really chill. Like, for gaming, I feel like has almost changed my life in a way. Like, I love the community I've, one, built on Twitch, but two, within our friends. I mean, we've all met lifelong friends through gaming and stuff. And I think that can be similar for these gentlemen and the communities that they're in and have built as well. That it's like a family almost at the end of the day. Yeah. And I'm very thankful for that community. And, like, Shine, I have a question for you, actually. For you, you know, we didn't start really, like, gaming together until, like, the past, like, year and a half or whatever, 2 years. For you, have you built friends through gaming before, or was this kind of, like, always Billy's thing or whatever? Billy's her husband, by the way, chat. Cheyenne also might be away from the computer.
She might be MIA. She might be
like... No, I was just muted, sitting here talking to myself. No, I've always been, like, really big into video games. I didn't get a PC until just recently, thank you to Billy.
Yay, Billy!
I played Xbox for for as long as I could remember, I played Xbox. Xbox Live membership. I was obsessed with Halo. I was always in Halo multiplayer chat, getting shit on by all the guys.
Love
'Cause
Halo.
who wants a girl in Halo?
Yeah, go back
you
to
know?
the kitchen, dude. What are you doing?
But that kind of gave me some anxiety. So stepping away from public, chat in multiplayer games. I did play a lot of like just multiplayer with a friend that I already like knew in school. Me and her played all the time together, and then I got rid of my Xbox and hopped on the PC wagon.
PC wagon.
And I started playing like multiplayer, like online games, like when I started like playing with you guys. Before then, it was really just stuff by myself. So I feel like it is very hard to play like in online games by yourself, because it can be scary talking to people who are just mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know what lobby you're gonna end up in. It could be fun, or it could not
be
fun.
full of the nicest people in the world, because we've played and like met some of the sweetest human beings.
Sweetest people ever.
And then we'll get in a fucking lobby with people who are calling us bitches and telling us we're ugly and that we're fat, and it's like, you've never even met me before in your life.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
who hurt you?
Who hurt you?
So yeah, it's just a lot of anxiety. That's why I prefer playing like games with people versus by myself, because then I have kind of like a support system.
Right, for things like when people are acting a fool and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it can be hard, especially like for me, it's like you can't say anything that I haven't said to myself before, so I don't get that much anxiety or like anger from it anymore. Cass will cuss someone out. Cass is like a Karen for reporting. Like, she will cuss a bitch out.
I will.
Me, I'm like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'ma spread love. Cass will spread hate, and that's called duality.
I'm the type of person to just awkwardly sit there and be like, okay.
Yeah, we have a balance.
Thank you for the feedback.
Great,
I will put it into the box.
Like, well, that's nice.
Yeah, I for sure understand that. It can be challenging out here, if that's the best thing to put it.
Challenging out here.
Challenging out here. And then I kind of went into the risks of motorcycles and stuff like that. Jared gave me some great points to talk about for this whole thing, so kudos to him for helping out. He does ride, and I don't. It's nice to be able to get some like questions that actually make sense, whether it's then just me being like, so guys, brothers, let me talk.
The fun thing about Jared too is like he's experienced the shitty parts of riding. Like he's gotten himself into some awful situations on his bike, and he's even gotten into accidents and then shown up to dinner like half an hour later bleeding, and he's like, yep, I'm fine. Like,
I think there's definitely like, it's a high risk thing. Like, anytime you get into any type of vehicle on the road, it's a danger. I mean, I didn't drive until I was almost late 17 because I was so scared of like car accidents, and then I would get into one. But being on a bike, you don't have the same protection you do on a vehicle.
Yeah.
Or a car.
No protection, honestly.
I mean, besides the stuff that you wear, right?
Yeah,
There's like
theoretically
gear and stuff like that. But there are some states where you don't have to wear a helmet, and stuff like that, which blows my fucking mind. So there's definitely like high risks when it comes to it, and personally in my family, we had a family friend who was doing a lot of stupid shit on a motorcycle and ended up getting himself basically decapitated. And that was really hard for my dad to go through, and like obviously this guy's family and stuff. So there is a risk to it. I think there's a risk in anything you do, but as long as you can spread awareness and be as safe as you can on the road, then it is kind of what it is, almost. That's, like, the best way to say it. Kind of doesn't give as much grace as I would like it to. But going into risks, Bliss was talking about, you know, how riding a motorcycle definitely comes with its risks. The way he looks at it is if you have a chance to get hit by a car while walking across the street. Does the fear stop you from walking across the street? No, you take all the precautions that you can and essentially hope for the best. Same goes for driving a car. So it has its risks, but if he puts his trust into his skills that he's learned over the years in the machine that he's riding, he's doing everything he can to avoid the risks and stuff like that. And he wants to keep living in that, like, the freedom that he feels while he's on a bike and on the road. Which I think is very fair, and I think that's why a lot of people go back to it, is that you know what your body can handle and what your riding can handle, and you just kind of have to hope for the best from other people. Our friend, I'm just going to call him Raver for now, I'm really sorry for shortening your name. I don't want to give up your IRL name. But there are many risks when riding a motorcycle, and the death rate for bikers compared to other motorists on the road is significantly higher. This is just a fact. We have no form of protection like bumpers or walls around to save us from impacts with the other motorists on the road besides our gear. This is the only way to remain safe. There's a thing called speed wobbles, or the death wobbles. It's an example of one of the very motorcycle-specific dangers, which I didn't know about until he shared that information with me. Really?
Yeah, that's how she wrecked
that is
collarbone.
Cass's fiance's sister got in a motorcycle accident. Semi-recently. It was a couple months ago.
Yeah, a couple months ago.
When the traction from our front wheel misaligns with the direction of the bike, this causes our handlebars to shake dramatically, and if you're not well practiced in most of these cases, it can cause a nasty crash. He said, however, compared to other motorists on the street, the absolute joy and mental clarity or pure adrenaline you receive from a simple ride to the gym or the store is beyond what you could experience from taking a car or truck. That I can agree with.
Yeah.
That I can understand with. Riding is absolutely a way of escapism for a lot of people, myself included. When you're focused on the road and making sure your body weight is turning with the curves of the road and having the engine roar as you feel the wind speeds increase all over your body, it truly takes the brain into another level of consciousness and sense of self with the world around you. This man should be a poet at this point. If he ever writes a book, I would read it. You won't find an adrenaline rush anywhere else. I can speak for myself, but I strive for improvement on the daily. As a father, friend, and to myself, I know I can be better than I was yesterday, and motorcycles are a tool unlike anything else. Why limit yourself to where you are instead of where you could be is my own personal outlook. Princess! Hi, Danny. Thank you for making it. Kind of going... Oh, let me read Phantom's thing as well. Sorry. He said getting a bike was definitely more affordable than getting a car, which maybe... I definitely think that's a way for people to get into it. At the time, like, when my dad got a bike, was during, like, a rough time in the economy and stuff like that, and it was a way to, like, not spend as much money on gas and a way to get around. Definitely gives him adrenaline every time he gets on. He said it's never a reason for escape for him. He's always known the risks. He likes pushing himself to limits or learning new things, and so getting a bike and stuff like that helped push his limits and comfortability and made him and educate him around that. He said, even though he pushes his limits, I know when to stop and to take a breather when I need it, which I think is a big important thing in anything like thrill seeking, is knowing limitations, knowing your body, and when to say that's enough. Also, I've gotten weirdly angelic looking, and really white.
You're glowing.
I am glowing. It might be the sweat because I am getting hot in this, but it's fine. It's for the video. I can't speak much. I've only backpacked before, and I've been on, and only with my dad because I was the only person I've ever felt safe doing it with, obviously, because my dad's not going to let anything happen to me that he can control at least, or not do stupid shit. Which gets us into our next thing, which kind of goes into, like, backpacks. Do you guys know what that is?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So for people that maybe don't know, it's when you are on the back of a motorcycle, someone's driving it and you're like holding on to them and stuff like that. And I was curious because on Biketok you see a lot of. I've never seen more emotional people before in my life creating content. A lot of their content can be like, she left me and this is how I clear my head. I'm going on this long drive. Which can be funny, but also understanding like clarity and stuff like that through driving. But I was curious because I feel like the way that people depict backpacks is different than it actually is, and I was actually right about that because if you're backpacking, you're putting so much trust into that person. You have to trust that this person isn't going to do anything to get you hurt. You also have to trust, like, as the person controlling the vehicle, that your backpack isn't going to, like, shift a different way than you and, like, offset the actual physics of the bike and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of trust that comes into that. So let me pull up the... Pull up the question. Give me 1 second. Sorry, kind of skipped ahead to a couple things. But basically, I was wondering, like, do you guys ride the same if you would have someone on it? But Bliss specifically said, I would absolutely not ride the same if I have someone with me. He doesn't typically ride with passengers, because riding by himself is a completely different feeling. He knows his limits and what he's capable of. I don't know what my passenger is comfortable with, and he would never want to put someone else's life in danger, and that anyone that would frankly do that shouldn't be riding, which I completely agree with. Phantom, you know, he's also kind of newer. I don't know if he would really want a backpack in the first year that you're driving, but he said he's never had anyone to back with me because he doesn't want to put anyone else's life in his hands, which is completely understandable. He knows how far he can take himself, his precautions and stuff like that. But you have to trust the person behind you to lean and move with you, and, you know, you can't always trust someone to do that, which could be really scary. And then the last friend... Due to the unpredictable nature of motorcycle riding, I personally have never ridden or will ever ride with a backpack. I can completely understand why so many people adore it and highly testify about how great of an experience it can be. But to him, it's an extra valuable that could lead to an accident. If the backpack leans too much or doesn't hold on correctly, or let's say the biker brakes and the backpack isn't aware and pushes his hand forward off the bar, all these things could lead to an accident and possible, like, death. To backpack with someone is to trust them with your life, and given all of these situations and circumstances that could lead to major accidents, I would never want to tell a family I am responsible for the death of their child. I know it isn't common perspective on this, as many people buy motorcycles for the ability to take others out and give them a taste of our fantastic experience, but I'd rather teach someone to ride and protect them with the best of my ability. Which, funny enough, all three of these bikers had that perspective, so it's interesting that he said that. Yeah. That all three of them had that same kind of thought process. And like I said, I've only been with my dad before. I mean, I'm a nervous Nelly on the road anyway. I don't think...
Yeah, you are.
I don't know if I could trust someone else to, like, get me anywhere safely. I prefer driving anyway by myself, or, like, I'm the driver because I have that control. But, like, I don't know if I could give that up. What about you guys?
I think as the driver of the bike, I wouldn't, unless I knew they were, like, a practiced backpack, like, they knew what they were doing, I wouldn't want someone on my bike. And as a backpack, I don't think I would feel comfortable or confident enough to be one in the first place. Like, obviously, I've never been on a bike. I've never driven a bike. I don't know. Like, we had a dirt bike as a kid. That was it. So I don't think I would ever be or have a backpack.
Yeah, I don't know if I could, because that's putting someone's life at stake, and you have to, like, that's your responsibility, and that can be really scary. I think I would be much more comfortable, like, learning, and maybe one day, honestly, I've always kind of wanted my motorcycle license.
I do too.
But I think I would actually prefer a dirt bike and just being able to cruise around like property or trails rather than like on the road. Because I don't trust people on the road. And I've seen how Virginia drivers drive, and it's terrifying out here. I get into accidents almost on the daily. Not because I'm a dumbass, because everyone else is a dumbass.
Yeah.
And my mom said like the best thing when I first started learning how to drive, which was drive like everyone's out to kill you.
Yeah.
And that's made me be way more aware of my surroundings and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Another kind of talking point that Jared brought up to me was complacency and how dangerous it can be in a lot of high-risk hobbies, jobs, or sports. When you lose the fear of something, people tend to make more mistakes, and some can be life-threatening. Do you agree that complacency in this hobby can be, at times, dangerous? So, big shout out to Jared for giving me that question, and I actually think that these guys appreciated that question. Bliss said, complacency while riding a motorcycle isn't a slap on the wrist if you're following a car too closely. It's being thrown 40 feet because you're lane changing and the car next to you didn't see you. I 100% believe that complacency can be one of the worst things that can happen while riding. You feel invincible. You're going 130 miles per hour many times before, so who cares if you push it to 140? You know what you're doing, right? You tend to let your guard down because nothing bad has happened yet, and that's what will bite you in the ass, basically. I added the ass part. He didn't say ass. I said ass. Our friendly phantom said, I would agree. Fear exists to protect us from danger. Eliminate fear and there will be more mistakes and more risk behaviors present. Especially when riding a motorcycle, everyone who becomes complacent with high-risk activity will need a wake-up call at some point or there will be consequences. Completely fucking agree. Okay, and then our friend Raver said, absolutely, I agree. One of my recent friends laid out their bike because he truly believed he had mastered his bike's throttle and was pushing himself to pop a wheelie on a bike not made for it. His lack of knowledge and experience led to multiple large road rash areas and injuries. He never cared to wear gear, push his bike well past his limit, and rode in unsafe conditions due to his complacency. I'll say it again, but understanding your limits and growing with them is very important in this hobby. He lost his fear and cared more about showing up in his ego, which led to multiple accidents. So not only just that one time. Never ride without gear, or you will be called a squid. A term we use for riders without proper gear or coverage. So don't be a squid.
Don't be
assholes. Don't be a fucking squid. I love that term, actually. Yeah, I think complacency can be different and dangerous in many different circumstances. Cass, even as like a nurse, I feel like you can't get too comfortable in the ED and stuff like that. Like, you have to be aware and on your game constantly, especially in high-risk blue codes and stuff, like code blues and stuff like that.
And I get that it's exhausting, I really do, because in my line of work, absolutely, complacency is the worst. It's the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, So I could see how it would be an issue with bikers, too. You just get comfortable. Maybe you don't wear your helmet this one time because you couldn't find it. Maybe you rushed out the door and you didn't throw on your jacket, like your whatever it's called, your biker jacket.
Your biker jacket?
Yeah. Or maybe it's like 1,000 degrees outside, and you're like, oh, I'll just ride in shorts and a t-shirt. I'm only going 10 miles down the road. Like, whatever. Like, anything can happen at any point when you're on the road. You never know what the drivers around you are doing, if they're having a bad day, if they're in a rush, if they're drinking. You just don't know. You don't know if there's going to be some gravel on the road where it's not usually.
Right. Which
or grass, even.
Yeah, I've heard grass clippings and gravel and stuff like that can just take. Yeah, since like dwelling into Biketok and like learning things, I'll like see things on the road and I'm like, that needs to be moved because that could be dangerous. Like, there's a cone in the middle of the road, or there's grass clippings and stuff, and I'm like, that's a big no-no. Someone needs to clean that up.
I think she literally said that yesterday when we were driving home too.
Yeah, probably. So don't be a squid, guys. Wear your gear. And then A lot of kind of the feelings of like adrenaline and fear these guys thought like coincided with each other and kind of agreed on. So I'm glad that I wasn't just rambling for the rambling part. It was it made sense, and I'm glad that that came across. Another thing is a question that I asked was sometimes there are situations where you have a limited time to react. Animals in the road, cars, people, whatever it may be. Typically, you get boosted with adrenaline, also known as epinephrine rush, that gets your body ready for the fight or flight response. How does adrenaline affect your senses when you're out driving? And are you able to give me examples of times when you're out where you felt out of control on the bike, and how did you feel in these moments? Specifically, we'll start with Bliss. He said, I like that you use the term felt out of control. First of all, don't compliment me. It goes to my head. I touched on it a bit earlier, but while you're out riding on a motorcycle, you're very susceptible to being placed in a sticky situation. Speed isn't even the thing that's scariest while riding a motorcycle. It's the other people around you that are putting your life below their need to respond to a text while riding. Big shout out to that fucking sentence. Put your phone down. You don't need it while you're driving. Get your shit together. That text could have waited. I dare say that you are out of control 90% of the time. You're constantly looking at other possible outcomes while you're riding, watching all the cars around you. There's a time he was out riding, coming home from work, and was on the highway. Traffic had a sudden stop, and my bike at the time did not have any sort of traction control or anti-lock brakes. My adrenaline kicked in, my heart felt like it was going to jump out of my chest. I had to calm myself down to look all the possible ways to avoid an accident. Ended up almost going over the handlebars trying to stop. At the time I was scared and felt flustered. And when doing this sport, you have to learn to keep like a level head in these kinds of incidents or moments. Because the incidents don't last very long. His was about 4 seconds. And so a lot of these are like split decisions that you have to act extremely fast. I am so white right now. What is happening?
You're glowing.
I am glowing.
I think the sun coming through your window weird.
I think my computer's just not wanting to go to nighttime mode. Or my camera's not wanting to like realize that it's getting darker in here. But the situation shook him up, but these are the things you agree on when you get on a bike, and you need to just be like self-aware and stuff like that, because I think Jared even brought it up that self-awareness is really important while being on the road.
I think that goes for drivers and bikers.
Yeah.
I'm very tired.
Same.
Apparently I was too.
Yeah.
Hi, Billy.
I didn't hear you open it. I didn't hear you grab the dogs. I didn't know you were here until you opened up.
Sorry.
I got zero idea.
Yeah.
Is Billy home?
Must be.
He's been home. He was just telling me about how tired he was today, that he took a 2-hour nap.
Must be nice.
I wish.
I thought I was muted. That's my bad, guys.
It's okay. And then we kind of talked about being like autopilot, like self-awareness, that kind of stuff. And Bliss also went into, like you can't be on autopilot when you're on a bike. That there's like a lot of things you need to be constantly aware of and moving with. You can get seriously hurt or worse. And that's actually one of the best parts about riding, is that you're constantly aware of everything and very like in the moment, which I think was interesting.
Yeah.
The other beautiful friend, Raver, he's said he's had close calls before, hydroplaning on slippery roads, which I think we've all hydroplaned before, and that's one of the scariest things ever. Almost been nailed by cars not paying full attention, and of course road rage, because they're upset that they lane filter, which is legal in most states, very different from lane splitting, he said. Loud pipes are just anger in general, but I've never pushed myself to a limit or past a limit that he's fully confident with. He said many young bikers who get crazy fast sport bikes want to try and break excessive speeds within their first year of riding and want to brag and be on that toxic side of the community, which is really dangerous. But for him, riding safety is priority number 1 for him. And adrenaline is a powerful tool and dangerous mindset. It can give some riders the feeling of invincibility or overconfidence in the sense of riding, which kind of goes into complacency. So I feel like adrenaline and complacency can sometimes be very dangerous in each other.
Absolutely.
He said he got, during my ride home back in 2019, I got stuck in some rain. When a car hard stopped in front of me, I had instinctively slammed my brakes and went to go in between vehicles, and this caused my bike to go full sideways on the road. Thankfully, he was wearing protective boots. Don't be a squid. I added the squid part, not him. And he was able to balance his bike without laying it out and recover. But that if there was a pothole or if both, if he got caught in the pavement or whatever, it could have really hurt him in that moment. And he was shocked he didn't feel a thing in his body. He pulled into the nearest parking lot, and after getting off my bike, the adrenaline stopped and my legs completely gave out, which happens when your adrenaline rush kind of ends and your body goes into a safe spot. The crash from that can actually be very dangerous. So, fun fact to our riders or anything out there, if you pull over after a moment like that, give yourself a moment to breathe, because if you don't, you can be very wibble-wobbly and it can get you in another accident. And that self-awareness is in control of the bike could probably be the biggest thing to be mindful of, as is a general rule of thumb for bikers, but also mindful of the surrounding areas, I would say, is also really important, which makes sense because, like we said, like grass clippings on the road, stuff like that, can be very dangerous.
Yeah.
Quickly here, I want to take a short break to get another drink, and everyone say goodnight to Cheyenne, 'cause she's going to bed with Nikki.
Good night, Cheyenne.
Good night, everybody. Tell everyone good night, Nikki.
She's such a brat. Yeah, we're going to take a short break. I'm getting another drink, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit about what we can do in cars to be safe for other riders, and hint a little bit, talk about content creation a bit, and then we'll call it there. So, we'll be right back. 3-ish minutes. We'll be back. We keep going now. It's not like 3 minutes. That was maybe like a minute.
Yeah. No, that was quick.
It was quick. So, I asked the first round of questions to the guys, and that's what we kind of just went over. I kind of skipped over some of them because it's starting to get a little wordy, and for me personally, and chatting the shit, all the shit. But I asked some follow-up questions, and this is where I'm going to kind of diverge a little bit, because I asked specifically Bliss and Raver a second set of questions, and I want to give each their platform to speak on that. So I'm going to divide it in this section so that I'm going over the first set of questions with Bliss, and the second set will be with Raver.
Okay.
So, for the Cutie Patootie Bliss, he had talked about being on a dirt bike and stuff like that. So I was curious, like, what the difference was between, like, a dirt bike, street bike. Is it, like, the same feeling you get with both of them? He said, it's similar but different. Both can be a rush, but in their own ways. Dirt bikes are more adventurous and jumps, playing in the mud, that sort of thing. Street bikes are twice as fast and twice as dangerous. Sure, you can get seriously hurt on a dirt bike, but it's a different feeling than when you're doing a 50-foot jump on a dirt bike on dirt versus 120 on the freeway, splitting cars. It takes quite a bit more to ride a dirt bike than it does to ride a street bike. Anyone can go fast on a freeway, but learning how to ride a bike on dirt can be difficult. And also, like, a control thing, I think, as well. And I think the tires are different, I believe.
I think they are different treads.
Yeah. Then my second question you gave me, which was how can we be more aware on the road? And he said awareness is key when driving a car, not playing on your phone, looking twice while changing lanes. That's all it really takes. I've been hit by a few times by people just changing lanes right as I'm passing by them. We always ask people in cars to give us a little bit more room when following us because we can't quite, like, stop quite as much as a car can. And don't follow directly behind us. So giving space and being aware for all of us people in cars out there. Adopt a biker is one of my favorite things that circulates the internet. If you're driving and find yourself around a biker, do what you can to make sure they're safe. Done, brother. I'm on it.
Yeah, and I feel like I've always been mindful of bikers just because of my nurse background, because I see the result of stupidity and complacency, honestly.
Right.
So I'm always like, oh, there's a biker there. I know that they're near me. I hear them. I see them. Oh, I'm riding behind one. Let me give them a lot of space. Not because I'm aware. Like, I didn't know that they couldn't stop as well, because I don't know anything about biking. But I know that they need more space. And, like, that's just how I was raised and taught how to drive, is just give them their space.
I think I give everyone space in general.
I will ride your ass if you're being stupid, but not if you're a motorcycle.
But Cass has more road rage. Girl will flip anyone and everyone off. Me, I'm like, dang. Dang it. Which is really funny because I think people...
but there have been 2 instances in the past, like, week that I can think of where you've been the more aggressive road ragey driver than me.
Yeah, and we're saying road rage lightly where we're just like, that person fucking sucks and, like, flipping them off. I'm not doing anything to, like, put anyone's life in danger or anything like that. If you're doing that, get help. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe get help.
No, I'm not sitting around people and flipping them off, and no, I'm literally just cursing at you in my car.
Yeah, same. And then I asked kind of a flip side of that, like, how can bikers be more safe?
Yeah.
And he said, great question. Again, stop the compliments because it goes right to my head. I think there are a couple things that we can be better about with our awareness. Lane positioning is super important. Learning where the safest spot in a lane to be when riding, usually off to the left side, never in the middle. The biggest one... that's the biggest one, but another one would be never riding at the same speed as traffic. While on a motorcycle, we have an advantage of being typically much faster than the average car or much smaller. We can fit into traffic much easier than other cars can. That being said, you should always be moving up through traffic. That truly is the safest way to travel. If you're riding at the same speed of traffic, you're relying on other people around you to constantly be watching where you are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'd never thought that it would be safer for them to be faster, which is really interesting.
Yeah, definitely more like flexible, I think, than being in a car, because you really can't always be, like, trusting of the people around you and, like, to see you and to just stop, because you are so much smaller than, like, a car, like, and especially, like, at night.
You're not built to take a hit either.
Yeah, so yeah, that makes sense to, like, move more. And then I went into content creation a little bit with him and also with Raver, but specifically with Bliss. Both kind of were like the same questions, but like I said, I'm giving this moment to specifically Bliss. I asked him how do you stay true to yourself while making content online? Because I feel like there's so many trends and categories and stuff like that, and you're like, oh damn, that got more views, maybe I should do that. But like also staying true to like yourself and your values and what you're putting on the internet and what you want your brand to be. And I think that can be very difficult, especially when you put something online. You put so much effort and stuff. Yeah, you get lost in the trends. And he said he was watching or listening to a Joe Rogan podcast, and he can't remember which one it specifically said, but he talks about post and drop, especially you post what you want and you just drop your phone. I try to live by that in the sense that I know my content may not be as good production-wise as other creators, but I post what I feel is beneficial for the point that I'm trying to make. For example, I made a YouTube video about good helmets to use when riding. It wasn't received well, and I received quite a few bad comments, but I stayed true to what I believed in. And that was not recommending cheap helmets to people for a quick buck. I have many companies that have reached out asking me to promote their product for a paycheck. I've told them all no, because it's not worth it to me to put someone's life at risk so I can make money. I don't do it in hopes of becoming rich and famous. I do it to help people learn about motorcycling and doing it in a safe manner. Which...
that's really interesting.
I just want to give him a hug for that statement. In a non-weird way. In a non-weird way. Of just like, that's so, just like genuine. And it's so hard, I think, to find... like genuine content creators.
Yeah, there are so many content creators out there who just want to be famous, to be known, to be cool,
and to do sponsorships for money and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I feel
like, and for that to be their profession.
Yeah, whereas he's saying I'm doing this for like the education of people and stuff like that. And it seems like he has that connection with his dad as well. Of like he taught him all of this, and he's like almost like the internet dad of like I'm gonna teach you this now, like my dad taught me, and I think that's really. Cutie patootie behavior.
Yeah.
But, next I was like, putting yourself on the internet, you're gonna get viewed by people all over the world, creating communities, and in turn getting to meet some interesting people. What have been the best and worst moments of content creation? He said, thank you. Shut up, dude. Don't give me compliments. That's tough. We all start with the worst side of things. We'll start with the worst side of things. People are mean. Plain and simple. People are envious and don't want to see other people succeed. This goes back to the idea of posting and putting your phone down. Too often I see creators get sucked into their comment sections picking fights with people. I've also had issues with people finding out where I live. He gets some very impolite and sometimes even racy messages from people. Going back to my original point. Stop being freaks on the fucking internet.
Yeah.
Stop. Like, let these people... give you interesting and fun content, but keep it at that. Like, you don't need to be a fucking freak. Let these people live. Let them cook.
That's not why they're putting themselves on the internet. Like, it's different to be on those type of sites.
And don't send racy messages to people that don't consent to that. Like, that's fucking weird. Well, nothing good is going to come from that.
Very along the lines of an unsolicited dick pic.
Yeah.
Like, so many people send those, and you're like, why? I didn't ask for this. We weren't even talking like that. Like, I don't even know you.
Ask me how your day was. Don't send me a dick pic. Weird. Yeah. But yeah, so that goes back to my original point of stop being a fucking dickhead on the internet. That goes for literally anyone. But he said the good part is he's run into people at gas station stores that have wanted pictures. I get messages from people telling me that I inspired them to get a bike, or my videos have helped them through a rough time. There's no better feeling than knowing that people like your content for who you are and not who you pretend to be, like some of the other creators. He just seems like a great guy.
Very genuine.
Very genuine, and I think it comes across in his content and through his interactions that I had with him. I told him that I spent some time looking through his videos and saw some like book talkie stuff in there, but that he's changed his course of his content recently. So I asked him what kind of got him into that, and how does he feel about the discourse on... So, in case you guys didn't know, there's discourse on this. Some people in, like, the biker community don't like that Biketok got involved with them and have created this really weird, like, thirst trappy, kind of bad part of the community, almost. So I was wondering, like, what got him into that kind of creation, and like how does he feel about like that kind of discourse. He said, start this answer off, I love to read. I'm a huge fan of the Fourth Wing series. Let's go, brother. High five on that one, because it's a great series. And he's read quite a few of the Biketok books as well, which I'm kind of interested to know what kind of Biketok books they are.
Which books?
Yeah. He's thoroughly enjoyed making all the content and could see that it was received well. It was fun to talk with people that enjoyed reading as well. However, things got out of hand and people started to get fairly aggressive with how they handled my content. I took a break for about a week and realized this isn't what I want my content to be focused around, so I changed my direction. He still likes doing little skits using the trending sounds and whatnot, but he wants to be more known for his knowledge that he brings to the community, as well as his motorcycle content. Which, great way to point it. I mean, like, I think there's thirst traps are thirst traps. They're always going to exist. They are what they are. It can be fine. But knowing who you want to be as a brand and stuff like that and you want to change your content direction, I think you have the availability to do that at any point in your content. But also, fuck the people that are being weird. Because you... stop. Just stop. Stop being fucking weird. The internet, I think, gives people too much, they think they're too anonymous and they can just say whatever they want to people. But know that that's another human being behind the camera or screen or whatever, and their thoughts, feelings, and emotions do matter, and you shouldn't put someone in a comfortable position, no matter the gender. Yeah. I think that can just be said by itself.
I can say that Biketok does... There are sides of Biketok that I feel like do hypersexualize certain hobbies. Biketok being one of those. And hockey. Biketok and hockey, I feel like, are two very big Biketok hypersexualized hobbies. And it's because of a lot of, I guess, romance characters, like the male characters and like the female gays written. So I can see why some Biketok people wouldn't be a fan of it, and I can say that it definitely gets out of hand.
I think it gets out of hand, like,
but
really
as long
quickly.
as, like, per creator, it's consensual. I don't think there's an issue with the overlap, per se. Like, if you're on Biketok and you don't like Biketok, whatever. If you're on Biketok and you want to make Biketok content, sure, go ahead. If you're on Biketok and you're watching Biketok hypersexualizing people who don't post things like that just because they're on or near a motorcycle, that's a red flag. Yeah. I think it's a thing where you have to have respect and boundaries with your community, and if your community cannot have those respect and boundaries, and that's when it gets dangerous. Yes. For any type of creator, and that goes through celebrities and stuff like that, I believe, as well. But these people are here, and they're presenting themselves for, like, an entertainment value, education, whatever. Don't be fucking freaks. Just stop. Seriously, stop. But again, quick shout out that he did post a video today, and it's a vlog where he's talking about what to expect when getting into riding motorcycles, and he's going to try and post those videos twice a week. So everyone, claps for Bliss. Thank you so much for the answers and stuff like that. I sincerely appreciate all the time, and I'll go into a big shout out at the end of this. But my last kind of questions were for my raver friend. Mutual, I guess. Friend is a strong term to use, but I just want friends so bad, but I can't be freaks with these people. I have to be professional and not weird. So he was telling me a bit about differences in the community for bikers across the United States, because he's been in a couple different states. Again, privacy, not going to share whatever, but I asked him if there's, like, differences in the communities due to different states and stuff like that. He said there is actually a huge difference between each community, but there is similar understanding in that... Fuck, this is not at where I need it to be. That carries through no matter what. In the South, a lot of bikers are way less scared to get physical and almost do get out in a fight, but the fight isn't bad, if that makes sense. Which makes sense, because I feel like in the South, we're all kind of like... You throw a fist, and then you're kind of, like, good. And, you call it a day. But in the North, I've noticed a lot more egos shown through, and it can lead to people skipping out on rides or friend groups. It's, he said it's tough to put in the exact wording, but that there's definitely a difference.
Which makes sense. I think, like,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard for the gaming community because we're kind of all online in different time zones and stuff like that. But I can see how it can be different, specifically for the biker community and what that means for even in different areas of the state. And then I went into content creation like I did with Bliss and asked him, like, what was, best and worst moments. He said, when it comes down to my best and worst moments, I don't think I've had worst moments, obviously. The unsolicited DMs, which can be way too sexual or aggressive, but come with the cost of 450k views a week. First of all, flex.
Yeah.
Flex. Again, stop being fucking weird in people's DMs. It's definitely frustrating as I post large amount and variations of other kinds of content on my page, which took some hours of crazy effort to film and capture to get 300 or less views. But once I had my first viral video, it really took off and became more consistent. I hard switched my content to Biketok and removed any videos showing my face because I realized at the end of the day, a masked funny guy doing skits and making inside jokes about the community gave me the confidence I didn't previously have and allowed me to gain some more traction online. Which also makes, like, kind of a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, putting my face online gets me more traction. One, I'm a woman.
Yeah, that'll do it.
But two, not saying I'm even attractive or anything. Dude, I'm Fogo on the best day. But I'm saying, like, just putting your face for gaming, like, people could connect better with your moments. But I feel like with Biketok and stuff like that, like, having a mask and stuff like that, it's an allure. It's like a mystique kind of thing that can be really interesting.
I think that definitely makes it easier for people to be either rude or weird to you online, though.
Yeah.
Because the anonymity takes away your humanity almost.
Yeah, it definitely takes away your humanity. And I think people, again, need to realize these are human beings that you're trying to speak to. Like, have some fucking respect and boundaries. But he said that his favorite situation so far was when he got noticed in real life and had someone come up asking about his page and getting into, like, some cool conversations that he saw, like, his dad do with his photography clients and stuff like that. He's had a lot of positive connections with people and emotions in the community, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
And then asked him about the car thing as well, with, like, what we can do. And he, again, also said about space being a huge thing for cars. He said, I know it's frustrating when traffic is heavy and you see the colorful bike ride in between cars and skip it all, but that's one of the benefits we have, again, with lane filtering is being legal in most states. Giving us space on our tails and not cutting into the center to block us is huge. We ride the way we do because at the end of the day, it's safer for them, which we now know, thanks to him and Bliss. The speeding past cars going 100 is not okay. It's, I get it, okay. So the speeding past cars going 100 is not okay, but on the other hand, like, being a car and trying to knock them down is also not okay. Overall awareness is huge. Apologizing if you don't see them and pull out, which causes the biker to swerve. If you see them at a light, roll down your window and apologize because we really appreciate it. In most cases, the biker will remember that and befriend you. If we see you on the way home, you'll always get a few rev or a fist bump or a wave, which I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for that to happen. Okay, it's going to be my time one day. Bikers are secretly a super sweet group of people. Even if you're not riding a motorcycle yourself, you can always be a part of the community. We appreciate those who move so we can go by, truly. Which is another thing I can look to do. And then, again, for the duality part of that, what can bikers do? And he said, bikes need to understand the road laws do apply to them just the same. I never condemn running from the police, which is a thing on Biketok where people can brag about running from the police. Pushing absolutely ridiculous speeds on busy roads or back to the pushing the boundaries of the rider itself. It puts many people at risk. They're still 500-pound plus pieces of metal at high speeds and will absolutely destroy a car. I will not ride or associate with unsafe riders for the exact same reason, just due to guilty by association. You might not realize it at first, but people and their styles of riding will rub off on you after some time. I think that goes with, like, what's it called? Mob mentality. You know, like, it's a thing we learn in psych where if people are really hyped up around you and they're like, let's go, let's fucking go, like, we're gonna do this, it's amazing, you get involved in that because you're just getting hyped along with people.
Yeah, you share the energy.
Yeah,
and
you share that
mentality.
energy and mentality. It just happens. It's a thing we learned in psych. It's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But he said that it's important to surround yourself with like a safe, fun, and community, and to pick good and supportive friends. Super sweet. He also said thank you for reaching out, and I hope the podcast takes off, as these are amazing questions. Again, guys, stop with the compliments. Like, shut up. But yeah, so those were kind of the interviews I did. How do you feel about that? That was the first time we kind of did something for this episode.
Yeah. I feel like they were really good questions. I feel like it's important to spread awareness on both how bikers can remain safe and be responsible, and how conversely we as drivers every day can do better to keep them safe, because it is everyone's responsibility on the road to prevent accidents. You can't just blame it on one person. It just like it takes two to tango, it takes two to cause an accident. So I think it was really interesting. I love that you were able to find people to interview for this episode.
I know, isn't that kind of crazy that they agreed with my whack job freaky ass to like answer questions? So crazy of them to do that.
I think obviously from a healthcare perspective, it's just, I mean, it saves me work if people drive better. So
let Cass live, guys. Let her have a good night.
Because I get so anxious dealing with all the wound care. Because motorcycles just, especially without the right gear and without the right safety, the road rash, and it's so expensive, by the way. Like on the
especially like
injured.
Yeah, especially with injuries to the body and stuff like that. If it's deep enough and you need like skin grafts and stuff like that shit's intense.
Yeah. And usually road rash, if it's bad enough, it'll take multiple visits to the OR to debride it and to get all the gravel and ground out of that. And you're at such a high risk for sepsis because you just got road in your skin, and your skin is like the biggest, well, it's the largest organ, whatever. But it's like your biggest infection prevention. So you just ripping off chunks of that on such a not sterile surface is just a gateway to infection. Yeah. And it takes forever to heal, and skin grafts can reject. It's such an expensive, long-term, time-consuming issue to deal with. Not even to mention like loss of limb, or if you get road rash on sensitive areas like your face if you're not wearing helmets, and then you also dealing with body dysmorphia and having to cope with new body image.
The mental stuff of that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, so just ride responsibly.
Don't be a squid.
Make my life harder. Don't be a squid.
Don't be a squid, guys. Wear your gear. Be smart. Drivers, be cautionary. Give space.
Use your fucking eyes.
Use your eyes. Get the fuck off your phone. And when it comes to people in other people's DMs and like content creators, stop being fucking freaks.
Stop being fucking freaks.
Stop being
on
freaks.
The internet, it does not protect you.
It does not protect you. Everything is everywhere, and that data can be pulled up at any time. Stop being fucking freaks. Okay? I think that kind of covers everything. Also, again, the biggest thank you and shout out to these guys. They were so amazing, and thank you for the grace that you gave me, and I hope that I went in depth but also did not outstay my welcome in Biketok. And thank you for your time again, and I hope I made new friends. But it's okay if you never want to talk to me again. I'm gonna go play some video games now. I'm tired of talking. And I hope everyone has a good night, and thank you so much for joining Fan Question. Would you rather fight 100 cat-sized ducks or one duck-sized cat? Probably one duck-sized cat.
Yeah, I mean, they're not that different in size, so.
I feel like 100 of anything would absolutely decimate me. Thank you, Danny, for the question. Love you too, Sync. All right.
Ducks already cat size. Okay, we're getting too
deep into this. New topic for next week. But thank you, everyone. We're gonna have an interesting topic not come up this week, but next week, that some ladies are gonna be involved in from the gaming content. But next week's topic is TBD. We'll see what's on the internet, what I get obsessed with. And again, big shout out to Bliss, Phantom, and fucking hell, I can't remember everyone's names off the top of my head what they're at. But Raver, thank you everyone. Mass talk. One sip of beer? Danny, you're drinking?
Danny,
That's
what?
insane. Anyway, I'm gonna play some games if anyone wants to join. Love you all, and I will see you another day.